Hi, I'm Jessica.
And I'm Brent.
We're here with Chicago Comedy Film Festival, and we are going to be interviewing Andy Nulman, the co-founder and president of Just for Laughs. Thanks for meeting with us today. I know
Yeah.
you're super busy.
Oh no, I'm not. The festival's over. I was super busy last week. Now I'm just sitting on my ass and nodding at stupid things. So
So, how did the festival go?
it went. It went great. It went great. You know, tons of performances, mega names, names that will be mega names. But to me, I got to say, my proudest moment was the fact that we were pushing into new territories. I was really happy. We had some really big names from YouTube up here, integrating and collaborating with some of the more traditional comedians.
Well, I'm just going to start asking you questions.
Ask.
Okay. And I have them right here in front of me, so if it looks like I'm
Cool.
calculated, I am.
Cool.
Okay. Give us a brief history of Just for Laughs and your history with the festival.
Oh, I hate doing these things because of the fact that usually Google does them so better than we do. But I'll be really brief in saying that it was started in 32 years ago by Gilbert Rozon in French only. I was touring Howie Mandel at the time, and he needed somebody. He was thinking of going into English, branching into English, and he needed somebody who could speak a bit of French. Knew about comedy a bit, knew about television a bit, and I was the guy because there were a few others with those credentials at the time. 1985, or 86, 87. I forget when it was. Oh, 80, it was the end of '85. Yeah, and I just toured with Howie, and we did a TV show in Chicago, which my whole responsibility. I was a tour promoter, but my whole responsibility was watching people make a TV show. So, but at least I had some semblance of TV experience. So when Gilbert wanted to start it in English, I was the guy, and we went. And times were very different then because there was no such thing as a comedy festival anywhere else in the world. So when you're trying to go and convince people, like, why don't you come and do this comedy festival in Montreal, they would scratch their heads and say, comedy festival in Montreal? Oh yeah, right. We'll be doing that sometime soon. I still remember, how unimportant we were because what we would do sometimes is try and get meetings, and people thought so poorly and so little of us that I still remember I was so excited that we actually got a meeting at William Morris, that they would actually meet us, and that's their job is to. So we went to New York for this meeting, and we were so unimportant that they wouldn't even take us into their office. The meeting was held in the lobby. They met us in the lobby. They came out, they met us, and then they said, "Okay, get the hell out of here." So yeah, things have let's say improved a little bit since then.
And since Just for Laughs was around, pre-internet and pre-online video and all that.
Pre-fax machine. I remember getting our first fax machine. Pre-fax. I remember I was the one who brought in the first computer. I brought in my Apple Macintosh. The place wasn't computerized. We had typewriters, and our spreadsheets, like for artists management and scheduling, were on a wall. And we had a guy, Richard Blow. I'll never forget, with an eraser would do that and go right in the box, and then erase another box. Yeah, that's the truth.
Was there a certain point that sort of helped seriously push you guys into the digital space?
Well, digital. You know, I, I was thinking about take a step back. What pushed us into the credibility space was when Tim Allen was discovered here. I mean, a whole bunch of Hollywood scouts came here in 87, 88, and 89 and looked for talent. But Tim Allen really broke in 1990. That really became the place for people to come and look for talent. That really gave the festival its first massive shot of credibility, where we were the world's talent scout for comedy, and we really went all over the world. And it was funny. We used to go into L.A., find performers, bring them to Montreal, so that L.A. agents can go ahead, sign them, and bring them back to L.A. It was surreal, but that's what we did. But when did we go digital? It's not that long ago. Digital. I'll tell you what happened. We when I was with the company for 15 years. I left in 1999 to start a mobile media company because all that was really intriguing me at the time was the digital space and the internet. And I started a mobile media company. We were one of the first people in mobile content back in 1999, if you can imagine, when screens were black and white, and we would tell people, we're in black and white, they were green with like those black dots, and we would say, one day people will watch video and TV on this. They thought we were psychotic. So I did that for 11 years, sold the company, and came back to Just for Laughs. And one of the first things was the goal was to make it a digital company. It started by moving our major shows from Saint Denis Theatre to Place des Arts. I got an American designer named Bruce Ryan to create a completely digital stage. So we, now 4 or 5 years ago, these things were relatively new. Now, everyone has them, but where there's giant screens, you can create any world you want digitally. There was that. But then what happened, my first week or so here, I had a woman named Parissa Foster who worked for me at my other company. She came here, and I said, let's just do an audit of what we got. And I said, just do a digital audit. And she said, she came to me, we have this website, because I had to change the website over and all that. Incidentally, way back when, I brought the first URL to the company, hahaha.com, and I think it was 1996 or 97. And the first website. But anyway, coming back, we wanted to change it, and I said, why don't you call up, see what we got? And she said, I looked at YouTube, and our YouTube channel, which is a bunch of primarily our gags, get about 600,000 or 650,000 views a week. And I said, no, you mean a month? I mean, she says, no, a week. I said, you're kidding me. I said, wow, 650,000 views a week. We must be the biggest thing on the planet. This is incredible. So I said, call them and find out. So she called YouTube, and they said, 650,000 views a week is good if you're like a dry cleaner or a deli in New York, but if you're a media company, that's let us help you drive your numbers. So they helped us, and we became very, very close and tight with Google and YouTube, to the point where right now we do about over 80 million views a month on YouTube. So that's the digital story in a nutshell. We went from 650,000 views a week to well over 20 million views a week now.
Did you meet with any resistance from like comedians or fans or sponsors as you sort of pushed the digital video content to mix in with the physical festival?
Yeah, you want to know where I met my resistance? In the office. Here. I met it here because, first of all, people, anytime you have to spend money on things people don't realize, particularly people who are, unfortunately, my age and a lot less progressive, they're going to say, what do we need it for? And, that the resistance was mostly internal. Sponsors were thrilled. I mean, I think the sponsors realized, hey, this is where it's going to go. Well, I'll tell you the performer side of it as well. A lot of performers, the story about digital not being good for their careers and having their material being shown online. But really, the resistance was more internal than anything else, if you can believe that, where we had to convince people internally why this is a good idea and why we should put the money into Twitter and Facebook and Vine and we always heard, you know the story. What 6-second videos? What who cares about tweets? What we heard all that, and it was tough. But it was mostly internal. Really, the resistance was really mostly internal than external.
Yeah, I think that generally for us, we're finding that a lot of artists do understand that that's the direction, but then there are some that they're nervous about going onto YouTube and putting their stuff out there.
Here's why. How old are you?
I'm 36.
Okay, so you grew up in a way before internet. You grew up when phones were tethered. So to you, it's a transition. You're going from it was this, now it's that, right?
Yeah.
But my kids never grew up without internet. Okay, I have a 23-year-old and a 26-year-old. They grew with a tethered phone. But right now, kids who are growing, who are 18, who are 20, they never knew life without a mobile phone. They knew life perhaps without a landline. They never knew life without the internet. So to them, it's not such a big deal. So let's extrapolate that and go to comedians. To certain comedians, it's all right, well, this is the way it was, and now this is. So obviously, I have a resistance to it. It upsets the flow of what I'm thinking and doing. Whereas a new comedian says, hey, you know what? It's always existed. So the camera that other people get scared of and pissed off at, it's not an intrusion to me. It's a natural extension of what I do. So my material will go ahead and take into account that it's probably going to be seen by a zillion people before I ever take it out on the road.
Yeah.
So they're able to create with that versus other performers who say, well, I have to create against it.
Right. I guess maybe you already answered this, and maybe not completely, but was there a tipping point when you realized that the online component was just as large as the physical component of the festival?
Well, it's not there yet because the physical festival is massive, but it will get there, and that's why I fought so hard this year to have YouTube integrated with the event, because I said one day when I'm long gone from here and I'm off doing something completely different, you guys are going to thank me for doing this. You're going to thank me for pushing, because of the fact that it will save our business. What I wanted to do, to be very frank, is take our Chicago event and make it a complete digital comedy event and make it specific digital comedy, but that was kind of a tough sell, and you knew they have to put a lot of investment into it. But I got to tell you, that is going to happen shortly. The VidComs of Anaheim and the Buffers of Toronto, which are more YouTube global, someone's going to say, well, let's just put it this way, and someone's going to do YouTube science, and someone's going to do YouTube comedy, and someone's going to do YouTube makeup fests. It's going to happen.
What advice would you give to comedy creators working in today's entertainment landscape?
Well, the advice would be, you know what, guys? What you do is primarily old school and boring when you look at it. If you're doing stand-up, you're doing something that was done back in the days of vaudeville to a certain extent. And please tell me how you've gotten past the red velvet curtain and the fake brick wall. Stand-up, yes, and I love stand-up comedy. There's some genius stand-up comics who say and do things so brilliantly and sell jokes really well, but the genre itself has not changed. So that means somebody is going to change it, and when that change comes, it's not like one of those things where you have a nice, I don't know if you took economics in school, but it's like a curve like that where it's it's just a nice soft landing. No, it's going to be like this, and it's going to go bam. That's what's happened to the industry. The same way what happened to WAP and SMS, once the iPhone hit. It died. I know that because I was in the industry, and we were cruising along really nicely with the business selling wallpapers and ringtones and WAP content and stuff like that. Then the iPhone came in, and our business it was like a bird flying into a building. It just died. So that's what I would tell performers, is that what you're doing is going to be destroyed. And if you do not see that now, that's fine. It will be handed to you on a platter. So what I would love people to do is try to find a new way to present stand-up, to integrate technology into it, be it integrate, visuals behind you, integrate visuals into your act, learn how to create a way where you work with the camera that's filming you versus against the camera that's filming you. And I would also tell people doing digital stuff is don't make yourself just look like old SNL sketches or crummy independent films. What are you going to do to change the internet? Look, when I first got into the internet, I left Just for Less to get into it in '99, and the internet at the time was primarily the written word. Content didn't necessarily exist, and it was a strange brew of people just trying to understand it. What happens all the time is that they take what worked in the previous medium and bring it to the new one. So the internet was primarily electronic newspaper or electronic writing like blogs and stuff like that. Now a whole different ballgame. There are things that are analogous to the internet because people learn how to use the tool. So same thing with comedy. Learn how to use the tools and be ready to spearhead the change, because if you don't spearhead it, it will spear you in the gut.
Tell us just a short bit about your experience in Chicago and how that went and why it's no longer, if you want. You don't have to if it's
I think Bruce and Robbie, because they're the ones who put it together. Bruce Hales and Robbie Pra. I came back and that thing was already in existence. But I think it's a very valuable lesson. There was nothing. You see, Montreal's a massive gathering of everyone from around the world in comedy. In Chicago, it was just a bunch of comedy shows, and they happened in Chicago with or without us. There was no compelling reason, unless you're a real comedy nerd, to go to Just for Laughs. Yeah, well, I want to see Ellen. Oh, I want to see Cedric the Entertainer. Oh, I want to see Martin Short. Oh, I want to see Newhart. Or I want to go to the club and see this one, Aziz Ansari. Nick Offerman. No problem with that. But they didn't need us for that. You understand that would work with or without us. There was no compelling reason to jump into this event. And I think what we tried to do, is the old story. And again, maybe people are going to get pissed off here for me saying this, but what are they going to do? Fire me? And if they do, great. I have a phenomenal golden parachute. But anyway, that said, it was a Me Too. It was a smaller Just for Laughs. And you're not going to go ahead and work on saying, here's something that's not as big, not as long, not as good, not as vast, not as exciting, and go to the event. That doesn't mean it has to be bigger. It just has to be different. So that's why what I was really gunning for is, hey, you know what? Let's make this a digital event, or let's make it an all X event, whatever X is. Everyone just let them all wear blue. But the point is, at least there's something to write home about versus here's a generic event that's a smaller satellite offshoot from its parent. So that's why Chicago had to be rethunk. But look, I'm going to tell you about Toronto. We had the same thing in Toronto. And again, I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but the thing is, when I look back in Toronto, when I came in, I made a very, very, very controversial decision to put Toronto on hold for a year till we could rethink it. And now it's called JFL 42. It's most of the same performers, but we're getting rid of the elder scale and say, okay, let's go right after what's hip and new and young and happening. And the event is a social media event. There's very few hard tickets. It's primarily done by a unique system that was created by Robbie Pra and his team, which is a reservation system where you have X amount of a pass gets you X amount of reservations, like 4 reservations, and every time you use one, you get another one. So if you have show A, B, C, and D, if you go to show A and check in, you get a pass, a reservation to show E. If you go to show B, you get a reservation to show F, and you can go to 1,000,000 shows if you want. But what this does technologically is it allows us to see the demand. So for show A, if we have a capacity of 500 and we see there's 700 reservations, it's at another show. Or, well, let's go to a bigger venue. So it's inventory management. And then, what it also does is by checking into the show every time you're there, it's social media, and you're doing the marketing for us. I am at this show. Hello. So so we really changed the nature, and the event is a unique event. We took the year off to say, let's do something new, and I suspect that's what's happening in Chicago right now.
Awesome.
It's not going away. It's just changing.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
We're going to do an all Hasidic Jewish comedy event. That's what we're so,
well, we really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
And for considering to do the interview. And it's been lovely to meet you and talk with you.
Well, same here. And you know what? It's interviews like this that drive the future of the event. This is what's going to be important. It's, So, much rather this than, I don't know, some shitty thing like, the Wall Street Journal or something like that.
All right. Well, have a good day.
Guys.
We'll be in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you later.
Thanks for checking out the interview with Andy from Just for Laughs. We really enjoyed speaking with him today.
Yes, thank you, Andy. And if you want more information on Just for Laughs or Chicago Comedy Film Festival, be sure to click in this little box right here.
Thanks.